a cold-blooded warrior who slaughtered his way across Ionia. Wait, am I really talking about the tree guy? In this episode, we talk about the Green Father, Ivern. Welcome to Runeterra Tourist. I'm Patrick. I don't know anything about these people, so let's learn about them together. When Ivern was first revealed as one of the legends for this upcoming set, I was a little skeptical. I mean, birds, cats, dogs, and poros, oh my, right? On top of that, it's an interesting choice to put Ivern into the series now. He's got a 1.6% pick rate in League of Legends, if I'm understanding correctly. He's 166th out of the 172 champions, so one of the least played champions, and yet he's oddly popular in some kind of way. People love this guy. I think when you look at the different chatter on Reddit or other internet sites, people love him. They're excited to build this deck. They're excited to see what he's going to provide to Riftbound. So I kind of want to know a little bit more about him. What's the deal with this guy? Why people seem to like him even though they barely play him at all? To start the segment, I have to take you back to ancient Voryard, which will eventually become Freyjord. That's the region with the old gods like Volibear, who should probably do something about him at some point. But the region was filled with warlike tribes that followed the old gods, and Ivern was one of the fiercest warlords of his era. His clan refused to bend the knee to the Three Sisters, the Iceborn rising to power, and so he plotted their overthrow, and eventually decided that the answer was to sail east towards the source of all the magic, seize it, and use it to break any enemy. They eventually land in Ionia, and cleaved their way through dozens of the coastal settlements and eventually encountered the fierce Vastayan resistance. They finally reach Omakayalan, the heart of the world as it's said in the native language, which was a sacred grove containing the legendary God Willow, which you might be aware of as one of the battlefields that you can fight at in the game. And it's a colossal tree with gossamer leaves shimmering with gold and green light. And so Ivern recognized this as what the Vastayans were trying to protect. They were fighting so fiercely to prevent any outsiders from invading this grove. And so his response was that he would take an axe and chop the tree down. Eventually, the mighty tree fell, and then life exploded from the destruction. Bodies decayed back into the soil, making it fertile. Seeds sprouted, bones became roots, colorful mushrooms burst from the fallen, leaves and petals pulsed like hearts. And Ivern had never seen anything like it, and it had converted him literally. He goes from being this warlord to now an essence of the forest, eventually taking over the essence of the God Willow itself. And now his physical appearance carries on that transformation. He has these two horn-like protrusions that resemble the Freylordian helmets that he used to wear, and now it's more of a remnant of what he used to be now that he's taken on the essence of the God Willow itself. There's a part of the story where he finds this wounded golem and crafts a heart out of a pebble from the river, and so that's how he found Daisy, or I guess Daisy exclamation point as it says on the card, which we'll get to in a bit. But knowing the cruelty that humanity is capable of, his new being now taking over the essence of the God Willow is to stop humanity from continuing on this cruelty. And so he's made it his mission to protect nature at all costs. And there's even a short story that goes into this about a hunter who tries to attack a pack of wolf cubs, and he ends up protecting them in the process. Before we get into the cards, people like me who've never played League of Legends before had to learn what a jungler is. This was something that seemed to be a common theme in this upcoming set with Unleashed, focusing more on junglers and the ambush mechanics and stuff like that. My understanding is that there are forested areas between these lanes, and it's full of neutral monster camps, but what a jungler will do is farm those camps for golden experience points, periodically ambushing others with ganking, which is a very familiar mechanic for those of us who play Riftbound. So typically, every jungler will attack those camps. They'll raid them, Except for Ivern. Ivern, on the other hand, plants groves, cultivates them for resources, which is a completely different mechanism from what you usually will do in the game, probably explaining why he's not as popular. It's just a completely different mechanic that is almost antithesis to what you would typically do in the game. So you have this pacifist character in a game about fighting. So given that, it'll make it interesting to see how he translates over to Riftbound. So let's take a look. Starting with his legend ability, Ivern Greenfather. When you conquer or hold, you may exhaust me to replace that battlefield with a brush battlefield token. And bird, cat, dog, Poro, and Ivern units have +1 might in brush, and it can be swapped back when scored. So as I noted, in League of Legends, he creates these groves and the brush that hides his allies and empowers their attacks, and this is literally that in Riftbound form. So interesting mechanic here, given that this is the first time we have a legend that is able to directly affect battlefields into play. So given that, it's very thematic. It'll be an interesting strategy, especially when you're going up against opponents who pick their battlefields carefully, to help their own legends, and he completely disrupts that. Little passive aggressive more than passive. So what is this brush battlefield? Well, as you can see here, it's a token battlefield. And it basically reiterates what Ivern's legend ability says, where bird, cat, dog, Poro, and Ivern units have +1 might, and when you score here, you may replace this with the battlefield it replaced. And that applies to the opponent as well. If they come in there and are able to score a point, then they can switch it out, which is going to happen more often than not. But I like this idea of it completely replacing whatever the opponent was trying to do. Kind of works in the Ivern flavor of protecting nature and really disrupting the opponent's plans of whatever they were going to do. Moving on to the signature unit, we have Daisy! Very expensive, 9 energy, 2 power cost, but an 8 might unit that enters ready, and you reduce the cost by 1 for each of the following tags amongst the units: bird, cat, dog, and Poro. Noting that Daisy themselves doesn't have one of those tags, but we can reduce the cost all the way down to 5 energy, which is a huge discount for such a mighty unit. And it has when I attack while your units have all 4 tags, stun an enemy unit there. So this goes along with Ivern's legend ability, wanting to have all 4 of these tags in play, and the stun ability is really great. This kind of goes in line with what my understanding is of how he fights in League of Legends, basically doing everything through Daisy! So we have this passive legend with this very, very aggressive, dominant signature unit. So I think it's pretty flavorful on that part. Moving to Ivern's champion unit in Calm, Ivern Nurturer. When you play me or when I hold, look at the top 3 cards of your main deck. You may reveal a unit from among them and draw it, recycle the rest. Then if you revealed a bird, cat, dog, or Poro, do this: buff a friendly unit. This is a 5 energy, 1 power cost with 4 might, and this goes into the Friend of the Forest as a card mechanic. So cultivating, which is what he's more doing in League of Legends rather than fighting like all the other champions seem to do. So this kind of does that, and the Riftbound translation of it is giving the buffs to the units. Finally, we have the champion unit in Order, which is Ivern Friend to All, the 6 energy, 6 might unit. As you play me, choose bird, cat, dog, or Poro. I gain that tag, and when I conquer or hold, score 1 point if your units have all of the following tags among them: bird, cat, dog, and Poro. So interesting to note here that since it'll be a little tricky to get all 4 of those tags, he can effectively fill in that need that you would have for whatever tag you're missing at the time. But it's also interesting because this is an alternative scoring condition. We've seen those in the past and they haven't really worked out too well, but given Ivern's play style, this fits in pretty well with that. How easy will it be to achieve this, given that the opponent's going to see Ivern across the table and know that this is a possibility? It'll probably be difficult to achieve. Anytime you see a bird, cat, dog, or Poro, you're going to want to immediately take care of that and take that unit out. So while it's very flavorful, execution-wise, we'll see if it's even possible to do. The only other relation that I would have to Ivern would be Legends of Runeterra, and there is no champion card in that game with Ivern in it. Also, Kindred apparently does not have one either. That's the other unconventional League of Legends champion. So it seems like that is just really difficult to port over into certain games. So it's interesting to see that they chose Ivern to be one of the main characters in this new set. So Ivern's an interesting one. This is yet again another legend that deals with specific tags. We had Rumble with mechs, and now we've got Ivern with a whole zoo of them apparently. But it'll be interesting to see if he's as effective. I mean, Rumble didn't really work out too well, and now that they're adding all of these other tag synergies, maybe we'll see that more with others. There's quite a few dragons in this set, so for example. So it'll be interesting to see how his playstyle develops, because he seems a little bit slower to get started since he needs all these tags. You'll need to build all of these into your deck, so that kind of restricts what you're able to do since you want to see a lot of these specific creatures. I know there's bird tokens that you can create, so there's going to be that aspect, but for the most part, it's going to be interesting when you have a meta that's so far been ultra aggressive. It seems like Unleash is trying to focus more on the hold aspect, but I don't know. That's going to be a big task when you've got legends like Draven and Annie and Kaisa roaming around, and now we've got others like Master Yi that are going to be extremely aggressive. So I'm curious to see how Ivern will hold up. My guess is probably not very well, but I'm far from an expert. In Sealed, he could be interesting though. I mean, given the fact that you're now able to stray into other domains, maybe that gives you a little bit more deck building opportunities and possibilities. He'll probably be better suited for that since you won't have all of the ultra aggressive cards from the other sets to worry about. But I still feel like it's going to be tough to manage such a finicky deck build and legend abilities. I'll be honest though, if I see him in my pre-rift kit, I'm probably going to be less inclined to build a deck around him. Just not my usual play style either. So maybe if there's just nothing else, or I mean, I am signed up for quite a few of them. Maybe if I'm just wanting to try something a little different, I'll give it a shot. We'll see. Given all that, I'm pretty skeptical on the legend himself. While I respect the backstory and I can see why people like this zero to hero kind of aspect of his backstory, the zoo deck is going to be kind of weird. And so I don't know how it's going to fare in the upcoming meta. It seems like it's fairly aggressive already based on what we've seen in China, so I'm not sure he's going to hold up. Maybe if he was more of that warlord that he was before, he'd fare a little bit better. But I find him interesting and kind of compelling. It is interesting that so many people are excited to build a deck around him, and I think if I get this wild passion to try him out one Nexus night, I'll give it a try, but I'll be honest, I'm not really in a rush. It's interesting that Riot had built this character, and then after many years of his existence, they tweaked his backstory a little bit, and it seems to have resonated with a lot of players. He seems to be an endearing character that a lot of people would like to see do well. Not sure that he will, but it's great to see that there's a little bit of variety than just your usual run-of-the-mill legend. But that's all 6 legends for the pre-Rift kit. So hopefully you can tell me your stories in the comment section below on who you're excited to play as, what your thoughts on Ivern, especially maybe the 1.6% of players who actually play him in League of Legends. You can fill me on what I've missed. But I'm excited to see him in pre-Rift events, see if anybody's brave enough to wheel him out there in competition. Pre-Rift events start May 1st, and so I'm going to have a little explainer video that will describe what to expect when you go there, how to build your sealed deck, and any new mechanics that are going to be unleashed in this new set. Yeah, you like what I did there? If that sounds like your thing, be sure to subscribe so you can get notifications on when that releases. But until then, thanks for watching.